the job. At what point did you start thinking in your head, if I had a college program to run, this is what I would do? Because you obviously spent so many years in the NFL world of thinking how I would run an NFL team or organization if I were at a different one than the Patriots. At what point did college start really becoming a focus of your thinking?
You know, I mean, that's a great question. Here's what I would say. College kind of came to me this year. I didn't necessarily go and seek it out, but I had many coaches, I mean, we're probably a couple of dozen coaches, talk to me and say, hey, can we sit down and talk to you about these things? The, let's call it salary cap of pro football relative to college football, the headsets, the green dot, the 2-minute warning, the tablets on the sideline. Those were all rules changes this year in college football that were either the same or similar to what we had in the NFL. And these coaches said, hey, coach, can we just talk to you about how you did this, how you did that, what, you know, how did you use this, what, you know, how did you handle the, you know, talk about the 2-minute, you know, how did that, what did that warning, how did that affect your strategy at the end of the half, the end of the game? How did you look at it? You know, how did you break it down? And so as those conversations started, and then the personnel conversations started relative to salary cap and how you spend whatever the allotment of money you have is, whether that's by player, by position, by, you know, freshmen, recruits, transfer. How did you look at that? And so I had multiple conversations with several coaches in this conference, within the Big Ten and Southeast Conference, and others. And so, and sometimes there were coaches who were on the staff that were responsible for what's called situational football, for kind of organizing that, or in some cases a person in the organization that was maybe in football but now being moved over to the, let's call it, semi-general manager type role, that wasn't familiar with that aspect of what was now invading college football, right, with the, you know, the revenue share and the NIL. So I'd say that started to make me a lot more aware of it, because the first thing I had to do was learn about it and say, okay, well, what are you dealing with here? And then they would kind of explain, all right, well, here's our situation. And then you hear another coach at another school explain it sort of the same way, but it was different at his school for whatever reason it was, and so forth, on and on and on. So in the end, long answer to a short question here, sorry. You know, I like to ramble on a press conference. But yeah, you just, you know, as you learn different things about different programs, and you start to put it all together, then there's some common threads, and then there's some variables.
Last two questions are David Teal and then Trevon on the right-hand side, Coach.
David Teal with the Virginia Pilot Daily Press in Norfolk. Bubba, in this era of revenue sharing, player compensation, and the House settlement, is it possible to be all in on football and men's basketball, institutionally, financially?
Yeah, great question, David. And I think so, and I think it's why we're trying to do what we're doing. I think if you go all in on those two sports provide all of the finances for the rest of the department. The more successful we are in football, the more successful we are in basketball, the more opportunities we're going to be able to provide for everyone else here. So I'm delighted with it, and I think our future is incredibly bright given his leadership and that of Hubert Davis. Our women's basketball program is starting revenue share this year with the NCAA tournament, and Courtney's done a fantastic job. So I think the continued investment is an investment in the future of Carolina athletics.
I goofed, I forgot Nia. I said yes to her a while ago. Nia, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. I wanted to ask what challenges you anticipate having in the future from transitioning from the NFL to college sports, particularly in coaching players, relating with them, influencing them, whether they're in the portal or just recruits who think about coming to Carolina.
Well, I mean, we'll see. You know, I've had an opportunity to coach young players at various points in my career, whether it's, you know, kids on other players on my kids' teams, or again, had the opportunity to work some in the University of Washington, be around that team for multiple weeks out there. So, but again, it's a process, and I'd say, as a teacher, you try to find ways to help the students, help the players, and if you can do that, then they have a tendency to listen and want more, if they're motivated, which most of them are. And if you can't, then, then they look somewhere else. So I know I can help individual players. I know I can help our team be successful. I'm gonna do all I can to give my best effort to do that on a daily basis. You can count on that.